Please take them
What
off.
do you mean ugly?
They look like spacesuits. And also there's a hair hanging.
You're an astronaut.
Do, re, mi.
What an opening. All right, episode 1.
Weird, bro.
Bro, this mirror makes my forehead look massive. Oh wait, it's just massive anyways. Folks.
Okay.
Oh wait, there's no mirror.
All right.
Welcome to episode 1 of Buzzkillers Podcast. What are we doing with this podcast, bro?
That's a good
We're
question.
two trumpet players.
That's a good question.
And we're gonna be talking about trumpet, about music, and
Mainly
ideally,
about music.
Yes, because
Some
we're
trumpet.
musicians who play the trumpet, and not trumpet players.
Absolutely.
But we're also trumpet players. We're trying to bring on some guests eventually. I don't know when that will happen, but
Yeah, that's the ideal plan. Right now we're kind of working our way up, but we're just gonna see what happens. This is, if you want to talk about it now, this is gonna be the first episode and probably the only episode where it's actually gonna be
in person with each other.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like over a call because
Yeah.
he's gonna be.
Yeah, and that's because I'm going to grad school pretty soon here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go into what we want to talk about today?
Sure.
All right. Let's hit him with the intro. We'll start with you first. All right.
All right.
Talk about how we met.
Yes. So we met in college, my freshman year. He's a year older than me, and we're both trumpet players at James Madison University in Virginia. And we met because we realized that we were similarly brain dead in marching band.
Well, yeah, you can say that. I would say the first moment when we actually started talking was when we were trying out for this flugelhorn solo. And it was Max's first ever college band solo, and he made a TikTok, and that kind of went a little viral.
Oh yeah, the ignore my mom cheering.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty funny. But we kind of met through that, and then I remember you came up to me because you noticed my necklace, I think. And
I asked if you marched drum corps.
You asked me if I marched drum corps, and we'll get into that. But it's because you were trying out for Blue Coats at the time.
Yes.
So I talked about like kind of my experience, and yeah, I think after that we kind of noticed how dumb each other was.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of spiraled.
It was like we eventually just started going into each other's practice rooms, and then
Okay, yeah,
it just got increasingly more like just stupid, and then eventually we became good friends and started practicing together, and
starting actually practicing, because at first it was just
it still is that sometimes.
It still is that sometimes.
But
But at first it would
Trump.
get to, I would play an excerpt and then he would pretend like he's some professional or like musician, and he would just do the dumbest stuff, and it was just
we used to like copy those.
Yeah, like those like master
the
classes.
masterclass.
Yeah.
Anyways.
When did you start playing trumpet, Max?
I started playing trumpet in 6th grade, in middle school, and I hated it. Just
Did you
because I just wasn't interested in it yet.
Okay.
Like music, I just didn't really care for it. And then I got to, and that wasn't the fault of anyone, except for just myself and just not finding the interest yet. And then it was marching band in high school, when for some reason I just started caring. And I was just like, what? I just want to practice. And then I just started practicing every day. I just want to get better. So that's kind of how I got into it. It wasn't until like 9th grade that I started.
So what did you do in like high school? Did you do like any honor band stuff, or just not marching band stuff related?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't start practicing until 9th grade, and then I started practicing every single day in 9th grade until like now pretty much. And I did all county, all district band every year, and then I did all state band for my last 2 years.
Impressive.
Hey man, you did it too, right?
No,
You did,
no, I'll say
you did
I
county
was.
and district.
I was never did that, but or I never did that. What about? Why did you choose to go to college for trumpet?
For me, it was a no-brainer.
For no-brainer.
It was either I was doing more trumpet and going to school for that, or I was not going to school.
Valid.
Like, that was pretty much it. Like, nothing else really made sense for me. I don't know
Okay.
if that's how it was for you, or...
I'll talk about mine, but for now, do you have any like future plans? Like what are you, because you're graduating next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan after that?
Taking a little time off. Gonna start making more videos. We get to focus on this for
Absolutely.
the summer.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be fun. And yeah, I'm probably gonna take like a year or two off and then audition for some grad school. I'm gonna probably be auditioning for like military bands and stuff.
Military bands. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to ask me the same questions?
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your interpretation of how we met?
Well, I mean, I kind of already talked about that,
Yeah.
but I would say the first time I saw you or the first time I really noticed you was when we were both trying out for that flugel solo. And I don't know, you had the best flugel sound in the entire world, I guess. No, it was very close between us and I think like 2 or 3 other people.
Yeah.
And I remember Scott Rickers, who is the director of the marching band. He made us audition like 3 or 4 nights in a row until he chose you to do that solo. It was it at least felt like a few nights.
It was at least like 2 or 3.
Yeah,
for sure.
it was a long time.
I remember talking to you because I heard you play and I was like,
yeah,
that's
well,
awesome.
you know, no, but yeah, and then I kind of talked to you more about like drum corps and stuff, and then I found out you made Blue Coats, and that's when I was like, oh, this guy's actually serious. Dang, like you're a killer player. And then I noticed that you got 3rd chair front row in brass band. I never did brass band until that first semester, so I was like, yeah, it's really impressive. And then we just kind of started hanging out, like you said, in practice rooms. I have so many videos on Snapchat and just my camera roll of us being the biggest idiots you will ever see in music.
You will never see it.
You will never see bigger idiots.
So, okay, when did you start playing?
I started playing in 6th grade, like how you did.
The old Virginia way.
The old Virginia way, yeah. I know in a lot of different states and some different schools, they'll start you out in like 5th grade. But I remember I came in because I did band because my brother played saxophone in middle school. And I thought it was pretty cool. So I really, really wanted to play trumpet because I was a huge fan of like Jurassic Park growing up. And you know, trumpet is huge in like those soundtracks.
I will say the reason why I chose trumpet is because my band teacher at the time played Star Wars on trumpet. He also happened to be a trumpet player, so it sounded the best. Mm-hmm. But he played Star Wars, and I was like, obviously I'm playing trumpet.
Yeah.
Like, it was so obvious for me.
Yeah. But I actually sounded, on day 1, when my teacher made me buzz, I sounded so much better on euphonium. So much better. Yeah. But I was like, nope, I want to play trumpet. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do trumpet.
You've told me that you sound good on euphonium.
And I think he knows because I've always had, not like big lips, but I've had like fuller lips. So I think naturally my face kind of resonates more with euphonium, but I've made trumpet work. And yeah, I think that's about how I started playing.
So, and what's you want to talk about marching band or?
Yeah, marching band. Or should I go into high school marching band? Or just marching band in general?
Yeah, just marching band in general.
Yeah, so the high school that I went to, we had a pretty good marching band. And I kind of first heard about it because my mom was actually in color guard when she was growing up. And she went to like, I think it was winter guard back in like the day. Like she talked about how she went to the Rose Bowl and stuff like that.
That's funny because I first kind of learned about marching band because my mom did marching
band.
She did
flute. Exactly. So then one day the high school band director came in when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I mean it just kind of sparked my interest, and then I did it. I was really bad as a freshman. I had no idea what I was doing. I had braces when I was a freshman too, all the way up until I think the beginning of my junior year. I had braces, and I was really it was really hard to play loud and play in marching band without feet in my sound when I had braces. But yeah, I did all 4 years of high school marching band, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I actually marched euphonium my sophomore year, and then I marched mellophone my junior year.
I didn't know you marched mellophone.
Yeah. I did trumpet freshman year, euphonium sophomore year, mellow junior year, and then I did trumpet one more time senior year. So yeah, kind of went around the full brass rotation besides tuba.
And you did some honors band in there, right?
Yeah, I made alternate my sophomore year for all county, and then I actually got put in last chair. But then it got canceled because of wind.
What?
The event got canceled. Yeah, like we were there for like one rehearsal, and then the event got fully canceled out because of wind.
That sucks.
And then I did make districts that year. I forgot like what chair, like bottom, like top band, I think. And then my junior and senior year, I got pretty high chairs in both county and districts. I never got first chair. My good friend Davis, shout out Davis, he always beat me out because he was just a really awesome player. Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I never did states either. I had the chance to go to states.
You auditioned once, right?
I auditioned once. I had the chance to go to states my senior year, and I had the worst audition I've ever had in my entire life. Worst. Yeah.
Okay, so what are your future plans?
Future plans.
For trumpet?
I'm going to Arkansas State here in a little bit for my master's. I actually graduated last December, so I've been kind of just in a gap semester right now, which has been a good like detox. Fix my approach to trumpet because I didn't have the best approach while I was in undergrad, but it's all good. But yeah, I'll be going to Arkansas State. I'll be a GA in the Department of Music, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And you're going there for trumpet performance.
Trumpet performance. Yeah, that's right.
Look at you.
Yeah. Hey, bud.
Hey.
But for now, I mean, we kind of talks about like why we went to school for trumpet/music, but who should go to school for music, and why do we think it's a good idea, or why do we think someone should go to school?
That's a good question. And my girlfriend Kate mentioned something before we started this. If you don't want to practice your instrument, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard if we're talking about music education versus performance versus X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Because certainly, if you don't enjoy playing your instrument, you would never want to do music performance.
Right.
It would just be dreadful. And it can be dreadful even if you do love playing your instrument.
Right. So I did MUED. Max did performance. And MUED, there was a lot of work. And if you love music, then it'll be good work. If you love teaching music, if you love to show others your art form, then you'll love it. So it never hurts to, if you want to go into music, it never hurts if you just want to give it a shot, because there's always people that transfer majors. There's times where people go from UED
people change all the time.
Yeah, there's times where people go from UED to performance, and then they'll go to composition if they like writing, and then if that doesn't work, then they'll go to tech. Right? It's tech.
I know what you're talking about.
Music industry. Yeah, I don't know why I had a brain fart on that, but so it never hurts to try it out if you just want to go to school for music, and if you really liked it in like high school and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like for music education, it's like you have to like really know what you're there to do.
Right.
Like, if you really want to be a band director, then great. But if you're like, I'm not sure, it's gonna be so rough.
Yeah. And
people like hate their lives.
Right. And I think one really good thing to bounce off of that is, in high school, bands and like the band room and just the whole band scene in general, it's a really, really good safe space where you can just completely be yourself. And I think people will go to school for music because of the strict social aspect of it. So say like they had a lot of friends and like they were like top of like their band and just like they really like music. But you should, it's important to notice the line of, I did band because I had a lot of friends in it, and I had a great social time in it, and crossing the line of, this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, and this is something that I'm really, really passionate in.
And I'm willing to do what it's going to take to become like a good band director or performer,
whatever.
always a stretch.
Yeah, and some people will have a boost / head start because they've had private lessons where their instructor talked about the opportunities that you have within the music school and outside of like the school of music and stuff. I mean, you had lessons, right?
Lessons were huge for me. That's what bridged the gap between I was making all county band and then now I'm making all state band.
Right.
And got me my start in college was good because of that.
Right.
Like for sure.
Yeah.
And then as a performance major, you get bombarded with responsibilities of playing in this ensemble. So it took me a few semesters until I got to the point where I was playing in so many things that I destroyed all my fundamentals and spent about 2.5 years
just building it back
trying
up.
to fix it.
Yeah. I mean that tends to happen. You will overplay a lot, especially if you're a performance major.
Yeah. If you're trying to do performance, you have to like. I was told early on to learn how to say no. You genuinely need to just be able to say no to things.
Yeah.
Like that's not a joke. Unless you have like perfect fundamentals that can't go wrong, then maybe you can play a lot.
Yeah, saying no is something that you will probably have to learn very early on. You're going to get asked to do a lot of stuff when you don't have any time. And saying no is super important, unless it's something you can't turn down, obviously. Like, I'm not saying say no to all your friends who, they want you to play in, like, their recital and stuff. But there's going to be some opportunities that you get that you'll have to turn down because, you want to prioritize something more, or, say your health isn't doing so good. It's all about your health and stuff like that as well.
And we were talking about recently, I was told to not let anything get in the way of practicing like 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which 4 hours a day sounds like a ton, especially when you're in a busy schedule. And it's definitely more than I do when I'm busy. But realistically, if you want to be competitive for like the actual jobs that are going around between orchestras and military bands, 4 hours a day is pretty realistic.
Yeah, that is one thing about music that I have noticed about a whole lot of other professions. If you watch any masterclass, I challenge you to go on YouTube and find a masterclass that talks about jobs. They are all going to say the exact same thing. There are not enough music jobs in this world.
In comparison
to how many people are trying to get it. Yeah. Like you'll go
not enough demand for the supply that's around.
And you'll go to like an orchestral job for example, and you'll try out for it, and there's going to be probably 100 to 200 other people that are just as fired up as you are, want it just as much as you do.
Just as
and
well
that's
prepared.
Yeah, and that's not to like scare y'all off, but that's just the reality of like the music world.
It's not to say like, oh, you have no chance. It's to say, if you actually want to pursue that, you need to be willing to sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
Of your life.
Because I mean, someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to
do it.
Yeah.
But.
And it's not us yet.
Yeah, it's not us. Not even close.
Not yet.
But no, I will go back and talk about. So you had lessons in high school, and you had a great teacher. I never had lessons. My first ever private lesson was in college.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at me now. I'm like, about
You're doing quite well for
yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
So
it just took time.
Yeah, I mean, if you do have the opportunity to take lessons with a very, very good trumpet player, I would highly recommend it. But it's not the end of the world. So don't, if you've ever heard someone say like, oh, if you're not taking private lessons, then you probably shouldn't really do music, because I have heard that. But if you've ever heard someone say that, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Right? Just keep at it.
Like I've heard players who are hyper successful talk about they talk about how they grew up with music.
Yeah.
And they were always exposed to it, and they grew up with really good lesson teachers, like these world-class players and all, and then they end up being like the best players on the planet. But hearing that shouldn't and you not being somebody who had that environment shouldn't deter you, because there's also players who do just fine for themselves, who are professional level musicians at the same level, basically. Who didn't start until
I mean,
the time that we started.
Pretty much, if you have the passion for it, you put in the work, and you do everything, the best way that you possibly can, it will work out. It always does work out.
Unless you have absolutely terrible genetics.
Yeah, unless you are just so unlucky, which rarely happens, except if you're me. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah. I mean, it's all about the passion and the work that you put into it. So yeah, that's who should go to school for music if you have the passion for it. If you have the passion for it, what else did we talk about?
I don't know.
You don't dread practicing.
You don't
dread practicing.
You can't dread practicing. And I say that even though I've gone through phases in college. This is the distinction. I've gone through phases where the very last thing I want to do is play my instrument. But even before that, the absolute last thing I would ever do is quit my instrument. Because I know that this is what I want to do. It's just I'm going through a time right now that it sucks to even make a noise on the thing.
True.
Like, sometimes you're going to go through a patch where it's like, what's the point of even doing this? Like, I have absolutely no talent for this.
Yeah.
But you can't lose that, like, at the moment you lose the underlying, like this is what I'm going to do either way, then that's when it's like, okay, maybe you don't want to commit your whole life to it. Because everyone's going to have patches where you just suck.
Definitely. Oh. Definitely.
Even after major success.
And we'll talk about that right now because our next topic is our experience in music school. I guess since you just talked, yeah. So like I said, I was a mu ed major, and I didn't do a lot of performance-oriented stuff. Surprisingly. As much as I wish that I could.
You did in your second half.
I did in my second half because I actually started music school. I started my spring semester. Yeah, my spring semester of my freshman year, I started because I wasn't too sure of what I wanted to do. So I was an undeclared major.
Oh, okay. That's how you started.
I was undeclared. And I was told that I need a major in oceanography.
What?
And I said no. So
last thing I would ever
I know,
do.
exactly. So I think, I know, right? So the
scientist.
The marching band and the people that I talked to that were in the studio when I did marching band my freshman year, which we didn't really have because of COVID. My freshman year was COVID. So I was sent home like halfway through until the spring semester. But I had to audition virtually, and I auditioned on campus because I wasn't home. I had to audition on the top of a parking deck in all concert black. I still have the video.
What time of year was this?
This was, oh my gosh, I have the video. I think it was right when it was starting to get warmer. So I think it was around, wait, no, it wasn't.
Spring, right?
No, it wasn't the spring. Here, let me pull up the video. Why don't you talk about a little bit of your experience too?
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with that, but speaking of parking garages or parking decks, that's like the worst, especially because every time you end up there, it's like the coldest time of year.
True.
That's like the worst experience of my whole life, was taking videos for like my Blue Coats marching assignments at the top of parking garages with my fingers literally frozen solid to my trumpet.
But funny enough, that's like parking garages have such good auxiliary space.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
It sounds so good.
So I filmed it on October 23rd.
October.
So it was right when it was starting to get cold, I should say.
So it was maybe like 50-something outside.
It was probably 50-something outside. And it was also on a sunny day. So I had to film that outside. And luckily the audition wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. And since I was transferring into the spring semester, there weren't that many people that were doing the same thing I was doing.
Okay.
So I did get in, luckily. I was like, thank God I got in, because I had no idea what else I wanted to do, and I don't think I could have gone another semester without, just not doing anything. Because I was just doing gen eds, really.
Yeah.
It was so boring. I hated college.
Those like steps of, am I going to get into this thing, are like, in that moment it's so important, and then once you're in it for a couple of years, you're like, imagine if I didn't get in.
Right.
Like you can't even. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. So, but that spring semester, I started to take some music classes. I took some lessons as well. That was my first like lessons semester, and they were all virtual.
Yeah.
But my sophomore year was when I started really doing mu ed classes, and
What was your experience with that, bud?
I had 21 credits, and it was absolutely terrible. Not the classes.
Yeah, that's when I met you.
Yeah, that was around the time when I met Max. It was absolutely terrible. I mean, at the time, I lived off campus because at JMU, once you kind of hit your sophomore year, that's when you kind of drift off campus. And I was probably gone from my house, from my apartment, from 7:30 a.m. to roughly after Marchingband, so 8 or 9 p.m. Yeah. I mean, that's just, like, you're gone all day. You have a lot of time in between classes sometimes, but half the time it's just not worth it to go home. So you'll either just sit in, like, a dining hall and just, like, watch your phone or do homework, or you'll practice. And at the time, I wasn't very passionate about playing trumpet yet, so I didn't really practice that much. But around the time my junior and senior year hit, that's when I realized, oh wait, I actually do really, really like playing trumpet. And as I got better, as I competed more in like solo comps, and just performed more like, juries and did more gigs, I kind of realized that's what I really like doing the most. So I still enjoyed most of my mu ed classes, but most of my time was involved practicing and doing these performance opportunities.
Yeah. Whereas for me, it was like, I came in knowing trumpet was kind of... Yeah, I think my experience is different to yours in a few ways, but the main way is my first year was in a freshman dorm, and it was pretty similar in that, I was gone the entire day until Marchingband was over. And then my second semester happened, and I believe that's about when I just, like... The thing about the performance course is that, yes, there's a couple less classes than mu ed, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, like, how many credits did like you have to take?
It was pretty similar. It was like 19 or something like
19, yeah. I mean, that's still a lot.
Like, it was so much for somebody who had no interest in any of it, frankly. I mean, I had, all the gen eds. I got to a point where I just, for some reason, I just could not do it. And I just sucked so bad at school for, 2 years straight.
Valid.
And I would go through phases where I would be, insanely focused on making videos for TikTok and YouTube, where school was just, an absolute afterthought for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, I'm doing, this semester, I'm doing very well in every class. And I'm not really making videos.
Look at you.
It was really hard for me. And then I also did well in practicing within the last year.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is, what are the other things that you're trying to pursue outside of school itself? And how are you going to balance that? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know how long you've been, working out, because your health is so important, too. And that's something that I wish I did notice more. But
yeah,
it's so hard to balance stuff like working out.
The thing, before you even finish that, the thing that sucks is that it's possible.
It's fully possible.
It's fully possible. And that's really frustrating when you're not doing it.
It's really frustrating.
For me, working out, I've been going since my freshman year to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And the least I've ever gone outside of marching drum corps would have been, I went 2 or 3 times in a week, and I'm like, oh my god, what have I been doing? And then outside of that, it's 5 to 6, for 4 years straight. And that was me using some of my mental capacity in the day and sacrificing schoolwork.
True.
And that's not to say that it wasn't it was fully possible for me to do great.
Right.
For every year.
It really is fully possible. for example, when I had my 21 to 22 credit hours, I mean, it was possible for me to get up earlier, eat a really healthy breakfast, go to classes, eat a really healthy lunch, classes again, work out, marching band, go home. I mean, like, it's fully possible.
Even with marching band on Saturday, Sunday still exists, where if you dedicated that whole day to, I'm going to prepare what I'm going to eat, I'm going to prepare how I'm going to do this, I'm going to do my homework ahead of time. If you actually took that time on Sunday, you can do whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, I mean, I was constantly tired all throughout like my sophomore and junior because I just ate like crap. Honestly, I ate terrible, and I didn't get nearly as much activity as I wish I could have.
Well, and the hard thing is that when you do so much in a day, it feels like, well, I don't have any energy to do anything else. But the trick is, if you go to the gym first thing in the morning, which I haven't done in a while, but if you go to the gym first thing in the morning, like early, before everything, that actually ends up waking you up so well for the rest of the day.
Most people think it makes you tired. No. Complete opposite effect.
If you go at the end of the day, then you're going to show up to the gym like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and then you just won't nearly...
It's like caffeine.
It is.
It fully wakes you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good experiences with music school overall. I wish I did more stuff or more like better habits earlier. And I think someone going into music school, the number one tip that I would give them would be healthy lifestyle and good habits. Don't overwork yourself. Like we talked about, like, I think 10 minutes ago, learn to say no, right? That's super, super important.
It's so important.
If you have a healthy lifestyle and if you practice good habits on your instrument, practice good habits in life in general, you will be miles ahead of 90% of music students. 100%. 100%.
On top of that, two things that I would seriously suggest if you're going into music school is, remember that you're paying money to be there, so you should pass your classes.
Right.
And I would say at least once a semester, kind of just take a moment to evaluate, outside of school itself, what the number one thing in terms of importance is to you, and make sure that you're absolutely going after that too. Like at periods of time, it was making videos for me, where I was just 100% focused on that. Mm-hmm. And it would have gone nowhere if I didn't sacrifice some things for that.
Right.
And other times, like maybe like last semester, this semester, it was just playing the trumpet. And yeah, that's part of school, but for me, it's not.
Right.
For me, playing the trumpet is like core, not to me as a human being, but it's like core to my personality, and like just making music is like really core to me, and it has nothing to do with school.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note too. You're doing something right if you sit down and think, what would I do with that music, and you literally can't think of like anything. Like career wise, not like personality wise, Right. Personality wise, make sure you do a lot of stuff that is not just music. But yeah, career wise, if you sit down and say, what is something that I would actually enjoy doing, and if you genuinely can't think of more than like one other thing, then you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, do you want to talk about? We kind of touched about marching band, but also
Drum
DCI,
corps?
drum corps. Yeah.
We both marched drum corps.
We did.
You marched 18 and 19 Jersey Surf.
That's correct. I marched 18 and 19.
And I marched 2022 Blue Coats. Mm-hmm. So you got a little bit more experience than I do.
Well, yeah. Obviously, Surf didn't do finals or anything like that. But
you're still there for
Surf right now does half tours. Actually, I don't think they
really?
They fielded a core this summer, sadly.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but back in 18 and 19 we did full tours. So I moved in, like early June. I know that's a little bit late for most cores, but I moved in like early June, and we started touring right after like July 4th, which is
I don't
when we
remember the dates. What?
Dude,
I did it.
drum corps is
I
such
did
a
it
core memory for
Under
me.
3 years ago, and I cannot tell you. Oh, I could tell you August 13th was finals, I think.
It probably, that sounds right. But
Just because I was told every day.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
what I did.
DCI were pivotal moments for me. Pivotal. I was, and I still am, I was such an awkward kid back in like 2018.
You still are, bro.
That's what I just said.
It's gotten worse.
It's gotten worse. Yeah, I should probably march drum corps again, even though I'm aged
You
out.
need to go back.
Yeah, but no, I was a really awkward kid back in like 2018. More awkward than I am now. I would not talk to anyone. Like the job that I'm doing right now, like cashiering at Old Navy, as I'm doing for my side gig.
Don't snap.
I would not be able to like do that right now. But 2018, it really bumped me out of my box. I wasn't the best performer. I don't want to call myself a tick, but I kind of was a tick back in 2018. I tore my groin at one point.
Really?
So, yeah, and I never sat out of any show because it was like right at the end of spring training when I tore it. And I had to set out a lot.
Yikes.
Yeah, it sucked, dude.
Oh my god.
But my like first like 2 or 3 shows, I was like low-key limping every single time I had to jazz run. But yeah, I mean, I also loved both of our shows. I also loved all of our staff in 2018. We also kind of got a staff overhaul in 2019, and they were all also great. I also didn't really have a ton of friends in like 2018. Like I said, I was still awkward like during the summer. Yeah, honestly, I don't really remember a ton of like 2018. But surf really changed my life, and in a really good way. And if you talk to my mom, she would agree entirely. If you talk to anyone that knew me, like right, yeah, they would also agree. So that was 2018. 2019 was like my encore run year, kind of. I don't know. Like I just really felt good. It is so fun being a vet. Dude, like I know that you've never like experienced it, but it is so fun being a vet.
So I've been told.
Yeah, and it's because you know most of like the staff already. You know most of like the members. As long as you don't have that mentality where even though you're not a section leader, you can tell others what to do. AKA being a junior tech. Don't be a junior tech, please. If you just embrace, like, yeah, I know this, like, I got this. Embrace that confidence. Be a really good member because the staff is going to expect you to be a really good member. You're going to have a really good time. And that's what I did. I had a really good time. I had lots of friends in 19. Yeah, 19 was awesome. So was 18, but yeah.
Yeah, I think being out there, it's really important to be completely aware of what's going on around you, but you really just got to mind your own business, bro. It's not high school where you can just be like yell at people.
But we got Mr. Hotshot over here, March Bluecoats. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I didn't have the conventional experience with drum corps of coming back in 10 times better shape.
Oh, yeah.
Coming back, having had the best summer of my life. And Bluecoats is my favorite corps. It was my favorite corps from the day I learned about drum corps, which was searching up best marching band and finding Ben Gunnarsson marching 2016.
Ben Gunnarsson headcam, dude. That's what got me.
And then, of course, I watched all of Downside Up. And come on now. Everyone back in 2016, 2017 was just like, this is, that was just watching that was pretty huge for me and just like, even considering marching drum corps. Yeah. And I knew if I was going to march drum corps, it was going to be Bluecoats and nowhere else. It was kind of like going to school. I was either going to do trumpet or nothing, but it just happened to be that the only place that made sense for me was JMU.
Bluecoats or nothing.
It really was. I didn't audition anywhere else. I would not have taken... I did one drum corps audition. It was at Bluecoats, and it was very important to me at the time.
Yeah.
And listening back to the show, like, I loved the show. I just had, like, such like day-to-day bad experiences. Nothing to do with like the members really. It was just like day 3 of spring training. I got Hell's Itch and got absolutely murdered by that.
Let's not talk about Hell's Itch.
Next thing I know, both of my knees are crippled from God knows what. Actually, it was really just tightness in my surrounding muscles. But once that's a problem, you're just playing catch up the whole time to try and like make it not get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not gonna fix anything
Exactly.
when you're marching every day.
No, you're not.
So, yeah, spring training was rough. It felt like a never-ending experience for me. It was like a month of just like, this will literally never end.
Yeah, and I mean that's what most corps will go through.
Yeah,
Pretty much every single corps that has a full spring training, that's like 4 weeks, I think, normally.
it was 4 weeks.
Yeah. Most of the time you will experience that, and it's going to be miserable, especially if you didn't prepare yourself beforehand.
Yeah, like the second and third weeks especially, it's like,
dude, like that first week,
on?
that first week you're like, I got it, and then the second week is when the soreness hits you, and then you're like, well,
yeah, or even
die.
maybe a little bit before the second week.
yeah,
But everything hurts.
yeah, but anyways, tour, right? Talk about your tour.
Yeah, tour. The shows were awesome.
I bet.
It reminded me, I guess, that performing in any way, shape, or form is just not what I was meant for, but what I just love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's nothing else I want to do than just like perform. And luckily, a lot of the time I also enjoy the process, especially in my own individual practice.
Unless it's spring training.
No, I don't enjoy that process.
Unless it's spring training. That's the exception process.
What else? Yeah, bus rides were so terrible, and no offense to anybody who was on my bus. I was on the percussion bus because I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, because you're a rookie.
Rookies don't get a choice.
Rookies don't get a choice, so make sure you are friends with a vet.
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys who can't sleep unless I have perfect conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sleep. So everyone was snoozed on the bus. My seat partner, shout out Julio, was literally sound asleep at all times. I slept one time during tour on the bus, and it was the first time I tried to sleep. I popped 2 melatonin. I got maybe an hour of horrible sleep, and that was the only time I slept on the bus.
Dude,
Out of
sucks.
hundreds of hours on those buses. And of course I'm on the drumline bus throughout the night. They're like literally nonstop. And I wasn't gonna sleep anyways, but I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, dude, that sucks.
And it was right after I had started making like TikToks, and I was just upset that I wasn't able to make any anymore. I could have, but if you think that you can do something in those circumstances, and then when you're in those circumstances, you realize that it's virtually impossible to get things done outside of what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, my bus experience was pretty similar. My seat partner, Jeremy, shout out Jeremy, he marched Bluecoats in 2023.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Me and him had a pretty chill time. And then my seat partner in 2019 was Hayden, shout out Hayden. And we also had a really chill time. But sleeping on the bus, dude, that was pretty bad. Luckily, we had a set allotted time for floor time, which is like the time that you actually sleep on a floor without a bus.
The bus time didn't count.
Bus time did not count for sleep.
Okay.
I mean, it kind of did.
What?
We
had if we were on the bus, if we were on the bus for 10 hours, that counts as 5 hours of floor time.
Right.
Which means we get 3 hours of floor time after. That was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. Because everyone else genuinely got a few hours of sleep. I was awake for 10 hours straight. Yeah. And then I got 3 hours of floor time. And I don't operate on no sleep.
Shows luckily kind of killed me. So I was like really tired. And I was on brass bus, so also the bus got really quiet, like at night especially. But for the most part, there were times where I would drift into sleep, and then I would drift out, and then I would drift in and then out.
Yeah, that's not.
And most of the time, the floor, which is what some people always went to, that was taken up, and my legs were like this because I also have really long legs, so I would like sleep like this, like a freaking butterfly or some.
Did you not have like a? What were you sleeping on before?
No, I wasn't on the floor. Someone else was on like the floor, so I couldn't like stretch my legs. Yeah, because I had the aisle seat.
I will say floor time in drum corps was the best 4 to 6 hours
True.
of my whole life. Like, I have never slept harder, and that's when I learned about sleep masks. I still use it to this day. Bro, no lights coming in. We're in a gym floor, but I have like the best air mattress on the planet.
Oh, you had an air mattress?
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
I had an air mat, and it was just because it was so hard to carry around.
No, I took the L with the air mattress.
Yeah, that is kind of an L.
No, it was fantastic.
I got so much sleep with like the air mat. I was like the first to sleep every single night.
Me too. It was amazing, bro.
But yeah, what else about drum corps?
I don't know. The shows can be so awesome.
Oh yeah, tour. Yeah, I mean, so you talked about like your tour experience. Mine was actually exactly like yours. Spring training, it kind of feels like you're in like a donut hole. Like this is like the entire rest of like America, and then you're right here, and that's where you're stuck. Because you're stuck. You're pretty much stuck.
You're totally stuck.
Unless you call your parents and ask them, like, hey, Mom, can you pick me up? No. Like, something like that, like, you're stuck. But the second you get on that bus and the second you start tour, for me, my first experience outside of that was the 4th of July parades. That was, low-key, my favorite moment of 2018. Were those 3 4th of July parades. It's because I got to see people for the first time. They were all smiling and like, oh my gosh, look at them. And like all like the kids were clapping at like, you know, us playing this piece. And I was just like, and like we actually got to wave and stuff like that on like the last parade because the ones that were like the first 2, we always, you know, we were like straight like this the entire time. But the last one we like got to wave and like kind of interact with fans. And then, yeah, I would say the first show that I did, which was, it was Crown Beat, not Night Beat. It was Crown Beat, which is like the first like show in South Carolina. Surf stepped out, and then the PA announcer said, and Drum Corps International is proud to present Jersey Surf. And I was like, I made it. I made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really surreal experience, and hopefully you'll see some family that you haven't seen in like a while because, you know, they live in the States so far away. Like for me, I saw a lot of my aunts and uncles, a lot of my relatives. My grandparents came to like a lot of my shows. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Loved tour.
Yeah, having people come out for the shows is just like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like people I know are here.
It's a good taste of home.
Yeah, and like for me, like 4th of July was also really cool. I can't remember exactly. We like performed Standstill, like something, with the Bluecoats Alumni Corps.
Yeah.
And so like my old lesson teacher marched Bluecoats, and it was just like so nice just to like reconnect with him and just like be reminded of just like everything that I like to live by. But when you don't get to choose when you do what in drum corps, you know, the things that you want to do, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just like nice to be back in that environment, I guess.
Yeah. So, and I know like after COVID, I'm not gonna say drum corps is not the same, but it's definitely taken some hits. I think it's a bit more pricier than it is.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely more expensive, and it's definitely there's a lot of corps that are starting to fold. So I really hope that drum corps bounces back because it changed me for the better.
Yeah, I think it changed a lot of people.
Yeah.
I will say we did have a bit of a disagreement over this.
Sure, whatever. I mean, we can talk about that if you want, but
we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I would say if you get the opportunity to march drum corps, definitely do it. I think it's a great learning experience.
Yeah, I think that's not just for people who want to keep playing their instrument at all. I think that I've seen people who aren't even music majors.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Who like are defined by their.
Yeah, dude. I mean, not every single music major will march, or not every person that marches drum corps is a music major. There's actually not a whole lot that do it, because there's a lot of people that don't agree with it.
It can teach you things that you can't learn it like anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some professional, like if you're a performance-minded person, some professionals will tell you never do it, basically. Or they normally don't say never do it, but they'll strongly advise against it,
right?
Which is fine.
Because it can mess up your playing, kind of.
It can temporarily either have good or positive or quite negative effects on your playing, depending on what happens throughout the season. Anything can happen. But there's several examples of people who marched a couple years of drum corps and then went on to become fantastic professional musicians. Even Ben Gunnarsson, who we were just talking about, he got the President's Own
job, yeah.
Chris Martin, the principal of the New York Philharmonic, the best trumpet player ever. Okay.
The best C trumpet sound ever.
The best C trumpet sound I've ever heard, especially in real life. Oh my gosh. He marched, can't remember where he marched, but he marched a couple years in his youth.
Right.
And it seemed to, that's not why he won any gigs, but he seemed to turn out perfectly anyways.
Yeah. Adam Rappa. He did drum corps, and then he also did blast. Which was cool.
He can play anything he wants.
He can play anything he wants.
And some people will put that guy into a box of like, oh, he's just a lead player. No. He can play anything he wants.
Look up Adam Rappa on YouTube. There are so many videos of him playing pretty much every single style, and it's
there's this video of him playing a clarinet concerto, and he just stands there for a minute straight, and then
Hi F. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
he can do whatever he wants. We don't need to talk about him yet. Maybe one day we'll have him as a guest.
That's the dream. But yeah, so do drum corps. It's good for you, and for the most part, it won't hurt you at all. And it'll be a lot better for you for life lessons as well.
That being said, some people, and maybe you already know who you are, some people, drum corps does not work for them. And maybe it's just the core, but I know there's some people who I did spring training with who, it's not that they weren't built for it on a physical level, but mentally it just did not click with them.
Yeah.
And it didn't really click with me all that much, but I don't regret marching drum corps. And that, I just didn't do another season. And part of that was a financial thing. It really was a financial thing. And I was told, like, are you coming back? And I'm like, I don't have the money. And they did tell me, like, we can help with the money if that's a thing. But part of it was also, like, I don't really know if this is really for me. And I could probably do something with my time personally. But I would say for most people who do marching band, who are passionate about that stuff in general, I would try and march whatever your favorite corps is, for sure, and get that experience. I think no matter what you're trying to do afterward, there's some serious value.
Yeah.
Just make sure.
Yeah. So DCI is awesome. But yeah.
And even just being in the lot, bro.
Oh yeah, that's a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but anyways, we've been yapping for a while.
We have been yapping.
Do you want to... Spitting.
We've been spitting.
Spitting. Should we talk about the future plans for the podcast / stuff that we should go more in depth on, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever you guys want this podcast to be, it's probably going to end up being that.
Yeah.
I think that at its core, we want to communicate our experiences with music and trumpet and try and help younger people like kind of like our younger selves almost in a way. Like I want this to be something that me in high school would have just absolutely ate up and been like, oh yes, like all this information and just, kind of relatable. But also I would really love to do guests at some point.
Yes. Guests.
I don't think we're there yet.
No, we're not there. Yeah, I don't think
day one. I
don't think on day one we're quite there yet. But we would love to do guests. We already have like a full list of like who like we want, and I think we would also love to see a lot of questions asked down in like the comments.
Yeah.
Just anything that you guys want to know / want us to go more in depth on. If it gets to like that point where we get a lot of questions, then I'm sure something that we can do is we can make a segment like right at like the start where like we answer like a lot of the questions.
Yeah. I think that we could certainly, for certain questions, we could certainly dedicate a whole segment
Absolutely,
to talking
yeah.
about, because I mean this trumpet music thing is kind of all we do, and that's all we've done for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So at least at the college and high school level, I think we can
Absolutely
dive in on some stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and also what we hope to do is we hope to react to some videos.
yes,
So
that would be cool.
we'll probably find some and then ask y'all for some ideas to react to. But
Yeah, and after today, we're gonna be over a little Zoom call.
yeah,
Probably not
except it won't be like those low quality like
Maybe
terrible
first.
mics. The mic that Max is using for us right now, I have the exact same one. And we'll make
Hopefully I
sure.
can use that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean you could use.
We need to invest in
Yeti.
some webcams, and I just don't want it to look terrible. Cause
Yeah,
that's never fun.
it won't look terrible. Trust me, it won't ruin the quality. But yeah,
Cool.
that's all we got.
That's episode 1 of Buzzkillers Podcast. All right.
Buzzkillers.
Okay, don't make it weird.